assistance? What has been done for them so far, and anything in the future?
Pensioners would also be included. I have to still work out the exact amount,
Hmm.
but Santa Claus will not skip them over. They'll take a visit with their chimney as well.
Okay, great, great. Uh, Still with you, Premier.
Okay, thanks. I also perhaps then should go to the appointments that Her Excellency Grace, just on my advice, did the necessary constitutional appointments yesterday, and so the responsibility for ministerial portfolios across her cabinet for the remainder of the political term was officiated yesterday. You would have heard that an election date has now been set. Her Excellency the Governor, after consultation, agreed. I also spoke to the Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Joseph Hugh, about the date, and so it is now the 30th of April. I heard on my way in you making some very interesting commentary about that, and I too have a legitimate expectation to see those who were standing in the shadows now to stand up and say whether they're independence parties or groupings or allies or alliances or whatever it is. Hopefully we will end up, I say we as a country, in the next election, 19 persons with integrity and honesty, with a passion to serve Cayman and rest if they will, but not quitting when the country needs them most. I will continue. I will continue to serve OC as Premier, as is the wish of my ministerial colleagues, and will act as Minister for Finance, Economic Development, Education, District Administration and Lands, which I've had previously. Will add Financial Services, which is critical because in about a week's time we're off to the UK to deal with very important financial issues, and I had not been dealing with it. I've kept up to date with it, and a previous administration was very intimately involved with it. I have a very capable Chief Officer Dax in the team, so we're confident, along with the AG and his team, the Finance Minister, CabSec, Jason, and all the Governor will be there as well, that Cayman will have a first-class team representing them. I've also added with Financial Services, Commerce, Health, and the Cabinet Office, which was also with me. I can say, however, with Health, Wellness have been allocated to the Honourable John Seymour, which I'll come to, and also the mental health facility, as well as counselling, and the mental health policy as well has gone to the Honourable John Seymour. And while I'm on that, I can say it is a priority for this government. I've had an opportunity, as chaotic as it might have appeared from the outside, to speak with the two ministers, Minister Jay and Minister Seymour, and I have been reliably informed that as soon as the 15th of December and the latest January, we can have an opening for that facility. And so I'm delighted for that, because that is one of the priorities that we've prioritized, that this country gravely needs, and we have an awesome responsibility to deliver. The Honourable Kenneth Bryan, you would have heard by now, has stepped into the role as the Deputy Premier. He continues to be the Minister of Tourism and Ports, but he will also lead social development and innovation. The Honourable Johanny, or J. Ebanks, as we call him, he will continue to lead the Ministry of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport, Development, and under Transport, he will have added Maritime and Aviation authority and responsibility to his remit. The Ministries of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency and Wellness will fall, as I indicated, under Honourable Doreen Seymour. He will also continue to have border control, labour, culture. The Honourable Isaac Rankin, being the 5th Minister, will continue to have youth, sports and heritage, and he will also now lead the Ministry of Home Affairs. Parliamentary Sector, Honourable McKeever Bush will continue with his 2 parliamentary roles, where he supported Minister Jay and Minister John, but he will also now be supporting Minister Kenneth with innovation and social development. And so, as you would rightly know, being in government yourself and being a radio show host dealing mostly with government constitutional matters, it has been most uncertain for our beloved islands. But one thing we were and continue to be certain with OC and Your Excellency is that we have utilize the Constitution to its fullest. I would not be a part of anything else. And the overriding consideration for me to attempt this mammoth endeavor for the next 5 or 6 months is that the love of my country is the fuel that drives me. And so many people have invested tremendously over the many hundreds of years, but in particular since the early 50s, 40s perhaps with the seamen, that it would be a travesty to jump off the horse at this time. It's now that we have to ensure that all 4 legs and head and everything bridle is in place, because a good ship cannot afford to sink.
Okay, we're going to go to our headline news. When we return along that subject, one of our listeners was curious and would ask the governor if she would opine on how our constitution has worked. Despite some people, thinking that it's gloom and doom, the mere fact that we have a constitution that addresses these issues when they arise, and if you could speak to that as well. Folks, we're going to go to our headline news. When we return, the conversation will continue with Her Excellency the Governor, Ms. Jane Owen, and the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Premier of the Cayman Islands.
Covering Little Cayman, Cayman Bride.
Cover me. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
I'm April Cummings with your headlines. The next general elections will be held on Wednesday, the 30th of April, 2025. Her Excellency Governor Jane Owen confirmed the date Thursday as she announced reallocations of ministerial responsibilities in the wake of the resignations of 3 government ministers and a parliamentary secretary from their cabinet roles. In international headlines, attackers assaulted Israeli fans overnight after a soccer match in Amsterdam, leaving 5 people hospitalized. This according to Dutch authorities today. Dozens of people were arrested. It is not clear how the violence began. Dutch and Israeli leaders denounced the attacks as anti-Semitic. Video showed Israeli fans chanting anti-Arab slogans in the streets before the game. Southern California firefighters working to contain a wildfire that has destroyed 132 structures in 2 days could be assisted by a forecast which shows fierce wind gusts easing early today. The mountain fire started Wednesday morning in Ventura County and had grown to 32 square miles, with 5% contained last night. Some 10,000 people remained under evacuation orders this morning. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
For the Record with Orett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Governor Jane Owen and Premier of the Cayman Islands, Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly. Premier, I'm going to throw the mic back over to you, and at some point in time, of course, the questions are coming in hot and heavy, and someone wanted to know whether or not the staff of the various government authorities and statutory companies and statutory authorities, whether or not they will be receiving this bonus as well this one time.
The only caveat to that is that we're not finding new funds. And so like last year, they are to find the funds, and having been there 30 years, when that clarion call goes out, there's never a negative response that funds are not found. So
always a way of
yes.
finding them, yes. Okay. So we had to interrupt you to go to our headline news. Anything else that you want to cover before we hand back over to Her Excellency?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to certainly take the opportunity to express my profound gratitude to the people of the Cayman Islands for being equally objective and patient as we finalized our way forward with the formation of the government and the reallocations of the new responsibilities. It is my intent that we work together in a united fashion as closely as possible with the public service. Without them, we can't do it. I mean, you haven't been a civil service before. They are the wind underneath our wings. And once the government set the policy, the civil service has always done their very best under Her Excellency's and Mr. Manison's leadership to carry out and implement those policies, and I see no different happening now. Their civil service, a good civil service, always neutral, and that's why you see from time to time messages going out from the DG's office to remind them of their neutrality, because government come in some change, and Cayman has a history that you normally go 2 terms. If you're lucky, some of us get many more terms, but especially the implementation of one man, one vote, or I better say one person, one vote. We see those terms become shorter and shorter around the Caribbean. And so in order to maintain the stability that we all desire and are very passionate about, it is of paramount importance that the civil service remains neutral. And I can attest that I have found nothing but neutrality within the service. Doesn't mean that they don't go and all vote for the government. We know that don't happen, but that is their private and personal privilege and obligation to so do. And so the government agenda will be concentrated on everything and anything that will keep the stability of this country. Certainly, persons, whether they like me or not, they can see my political history, and I don't get myself involved in things that are not in compliance of good governance or breach of any in the laws within our land. I'm a lawmaker, not a lawbreaker.
For those persons who are curious, and this person that wrote in wanting to know what the rationale for assigning certain responsibilities, having 4 persons and yourself, to share those responsibilities, and realizing that it is only for a limited period of time. Can you explain that to our audience?
Absolutely. The dynamics that were conspicuous were no different from the formation of any other governments. You try to look at the ministers with the strength and the desire to do it. You also try to look with how they would work with particular chief officers Some have their preference for whatever reason they had worked with them before. They want to keep the same one. You also look at the main modus operandi is that it's merely 5 to 6 months. It's a holding government. People always talk about fiscal responsibility, and with the responsibility of finance, I looked at it that it was not something that I asked or desired for 3 ministers to exercise their democratic right in one of the PSs. But now the country will actually save from 3 ministers' salary. So there's always a half cup mentality or half empty mentality. I choose the one that's half full mentality. And so see, as we looked at it, I tried to keep things as much as they remained. For example, I was asked to take financial services, and I assume they did that because I had finance. I have a law degree. I've been there the longest woman ever in Cayman. But I've been on these missions before, from 1999 when we first had a white paper with OECD, the FATF. We saw Paris more than a French person when we were trying to negotiate with them and keep the Germans away from our finances, etc. And so it is assumptions like that go into the formulations and the distribution and allocation that helped me come to a decision to go to Her Excellency, the Governor, to say, this is what I think that can work. And we also have to go that against the background that we're going into an election period. And so for me, I recognized that I had to say yes when I was asked to take some of the responsibilities because, as I said before, I'm not running. But my ministers want to run, and of course, like any good politician, they want to be a successful candidate. But somebody still has to run the country. So I don't have to be on the BRAC campaign and the 8 weeks that we have. I can be in Georgetown, count my final days down, and thank the Lord for the privilege of having served 30 years to the country.
Okay, thank you. Governor, our Constitution has endured. It shows that it works. And at the same time, it also shows the strength, the ability, and the confidence that the people have in our civil service as well. And I made the comment that, our civil service continues to function. I made a comment that you don't hear any military music being played on Radio Cayman. You didn't see any troops standing out, outside. No soldiers with guns standing outside the radio station or the government administration building. Our Constitution worked the way that it should have. Could you speak to that, please?
Yeah, so, I think we have a very solid Constitution. Obviously, as we are guided by it, I've been talking to our Attorney General to make sure that whatever we do is in keeping with the law, the rule of law, good governance. I think it's obviously been an uncertain time for people over the last few days, but if you look around the world, it is not totally unusual that you have these kind of developments, and that is precisely why there is provision within our Constitution to handle these things. So it's very clear within our Constitution that a quorum for our cabinet is 5 ministers, and provided you have 5 ministers, you have a quorum and the government can continue. It is important. I know the Honourable Premier felt it was very important to also be having informal discussions with the opposition, for example, because when you look towards things like holding a parliament, it's always good to know where everyone stands. So, working very closely together with Honourable Premier, what we've been trying to do is make sure we're following what is legally acceptable and recommended through the Constitution, but bearing in mind that everybody was talking about, okay, what do we do about elections? So I've spent quite a lot of my time over the last few days becoming a bit more of an expert on election timing and election required processes than I had ever been before. So it quickly became clear to me that as you run up to an election, and as everybody in the country was expecting us to have an election sometime maybe towards the middle of next year, that people probably had not necessarily put in their registration to vote yet. The last deadline was the 1st of October, which does feel like quite a long time ago, doesn't it?
Every 3 months.
You know, I felt there was a really strong feeling in the country and a really strong push, therefore, a strong recommendation for us to enable people to register to vote up to January. It'll probably be up to around the 15th of January, so that people have got time to come back from their New Year's or Christmas holidays. And then if you take that January date, you need to wait until the 1st of April before everyone gets onto the electoral roll. You've probably explained this to all your viewers already, but that meant that therefore we were really looking at April. And because you have to then have a period of, you know, at least 12 days for people with postal votes to put in their request for that, you're immediately into Easter. So a few days ago, I hadn't really figured out when Easter was. Now I know that Easter is the 15th to the 18th of April. So, you know, we thought it was also a good idea to leave out Easter. I hope everybody thinks that's a good idea. It seemed to me a lot of people go away. It's a really important religious festival here as well, isn't it? Everyone's going camping. People are not going to want to be having to go voting when they really want to be in a nice tent on one of our beautiful beaches. So that's why we've gone for the 30th of April, which I think then gives us a clear way forward. We would then plan to dissolve Parliament 2 months before that, so probably around the 1st of March. So, you know, I think we can all start to see a kind of timetable for how things will play out over the coming months.
And I was talking to a former legislator this morning as well, and he remarked that our elections process, our elections legislation is, you know, one of the more encouraging in terms of registration, you know, and voter registration and everything else, that it is much more accommodating. Of course, you know, there are other systems around that can still be more accommodating as well, but certainly, you know, it is one of the things that we have impressed upon in the past, and I continue to advocate for, that we need to look at our elections law, because there are certain things in there that we can dispense with that doesn't compress everything, you know, so closely together. But if we could switch gears, Governor, and talk, there are individuals, entities who are concerned that the remarks made by the departing parliamentary secretary and the departing ministers in relation to issues within cabinet and the issues of good governance. Can you speak, you know, to that and talk about what sanctions, if any, are in place, how the procedures are handled vis-a-vis you and the Premier in relation to any complaints? And I think we should note, and you know, I've pointed this out to people, that there were more generalizations than there were specifics in terms of the departing ministers, what they had to say, and their reasons for leaving.
Yes, thank you very much. And, you know, I do think this is obviously a serious and important topic for us to cover. First thing I would say is that I do regard it as a great privilege and a huge responsibility to be chairing cabinet every week. I would be very concerned if people had anything specific to say about the way in which I have done that over the last year and a half, and if there are issues about the way I have chaired things and the way cabinet has been run, I would be very keen to hear that, and I would certainly want to look into it. I mean, it's clear under our constitution that the way the business of government works is that issues and papers come to cabinet through caucus. So caucus is obviously a very, very important part of the political process. Caucus includes, very importantly, those members who are supporting the government who are not cabinet members, so it's a slightly larger group of our politicians, but it does not include me or, for example, the DG or the CABSEC or the Attorney General. So, it's a different grouping, but we rely very much on that grouping to properly decide what items are coming forward. And as you know, from my point of view as governor, if you look at my responsibilities, an awful lot of government business does not fall within my specific areas of responsibility or control, you might say. So we're looking at the papers that come up through caucus, and then we have a discussion at Cabinet. And then during Cabinet, the idea is that there would be a consensus. And so what I've tried to ensure is that if there's clearly no consensus, things would then go back to caucus to have a further kind of political discussion, if you like. So that's the way it works. We do have a very clear ministerial code of conduct. So certainly if there are any specific allegations or concerns about the way things have been done under that code of conduct in Cabinet, I would certainly, want to look at that. The normal way forward would be for anyone expressing such concerns to do so, including to Honourable Premier, because the way it works in that code of conduct is it would then be also for Honourable Premier, first of all, to decide how she would like to handle that. So I think, again, this is another area where we have good systems. We all need to be clear about how the Constitution works and who has the levers and control at different stages of the process. But it is, of course, really essential that everybody has confidence in the way in which our caucus and Cabinet is working.
And for clarity, you as governor are not you are not involved in the process of caucus.
No.
Premier?
That's correct, and I want to give Her Excellency the Governor the utmost assurance that the only time that I have not been in Cabinet, if very limited time I was sick or traveling overseas, but I can certainly attest that I would have read the minutes afterwards, and I've been present in Cabinet when the Governor has been there and other previous governors. And the Governor that I know, as good as any other member that's there, runs a very tight Cabinet. It's obvious that she has read her papers, that she's informed, that she has met with her chief officers. And I can tell you that if she has a question, she does not hesitate to call me to discuss it. We meet every single Thursday. Once I'm here or we don't have a hurricane, we go through and we discuss. And so any implications whatsoever that something went awry in Cabinet or that the Governor didn't control it, and Cabinet is being most economical with the truth is the best way that I can put it. Now, since November of last year, I would have had conduct of our caucus. I assume that based on the analytical thinking and deductive reasoning, that since the utterance have come from one of the departing persons, that they would be referring to the period since November, since they never departed prior to November. I think that would be a reasonable assumption. And there is a ministerial code that we all, the government elected members, including those who departed, have signed. We have precedent of another minister that a former premier discipline. We have not changed or modified that since the former premier left. And so the procedure is there. The person that I understood made it is a lawyer himself and should be fully cognizant of the procedure. I have not received one written allegation or assumption that there was a governance issue. The closest that came to that was when the paper was presented on the last caucus night that they attended and got papers that went through the members that left. He asked when it came to the National Conservation draft bill if once I went around, as I do, and asked members what their position is on each of the papers that come, first, the minister responsible for it responded by saying, she's not going to be taking the paper forward, and we have gotten over that constitutionally, so she could not find herself supporting it. And the then Deputy Premier was asked, and he responded that he could not support it, which came as a shocker because we had been since January negotiating that. He had made input, and in fact it had been deferred the last several times because of him wanting an appeal process, which we agreed to, and he had been conversing with the competent Attorney General. But that was their prerogative. So as he went round, Minister of Health at the time, who had previously supported it, on that occasion said no, she could not support it. The PS was not there. She was supposed to have been at a boat show in Fort Lauderdale. SPS had the body. And so further on, it was asked of me as chair whether he could get a conscience vote. And I said, yes, conscience votes can be given, but there's a procedure. So put it to me in writing, and I'll have an answer to you the next morning. But the ultimate decision is from Her Excellency the Governor, who is the only one constitutionally who can relieve a minister of their collective responsibility. And there are reasons why the Constitution has certain provisions. You cannot run a government in a chaotic manner where you don't have collective responsibility. And there are other options, and they opted to go and leave. I had no idea that was going to happen. As a matter of fact, when the altercation, and I say that loosely because it wasn't a physical altercation, it was a verbal one, on the exit that night with the PS McKeever Bush, and I had hoped I didn't have to get into this, but I will not sit here and have aspirations cast on Her Excellency the Governor or myself as leader unless persons can come and bring the evidence and follow the institutional procedure code.
Yes.
On the exit of Mr. Bush, I didn't hear what Min's attorney said to him because I sat at way end of the table and they sat on opposite end. But whatever he said, Mr. Bush got up, and as he was exiting, he said, he referred, I won't quote, but he referred to the incident of the exchange of monies between her and the former premier. That caused her to respond, and I won't say what she responded. And they left, herself, Minister Andre, myself, were the last three to leave that night. And when she was leaving, she asked if she could see me the next morning. And I said yes. And she said she don't know how much longer she could sit around the table with Mr. Bush. That meeting has not happened because as I went to go to cabinet, I saw, as I was getting out of the car, Minister Cathy going ahead into the basement, and I thought, that's strange, they're going the opposite direction. And I saw then PS Heather, which I didn't know was in his jurisdiction, I thought she was in Florida, also coming out. And Yaya, I call her, and I have been friends from way back. And so I found it a bit odd that she passed and didn't even say hello, and she greeted my driver. So I'm like, something isn't right. And as I got upstairs, my staff was meeting me by the elevator saying Her Excellency wanted to see me. It was in her office that I was first surprised that they had attended Her Excellency's office and had tendered their resignation with immediate effect. And I say surprise. I always knew that some detachments would come sooner or later because politics has come in, and some expressions had been about who they preferred to run with. But I was particularly surprised at my former deputy, who before I went to Samoa had visited me, and that was not the first occasion, saying that different offerings had come from different groupings, and it's the two main groupings, and you can figure out who they are without me calling their names, and that he had decided that he would not align himself to either of the two groupings, and since I was no longer planning to run, he was going to stay with that grouping. That's some 3 weeks before this happened, 2 weeks before this happened. And what did I think about his qualities of him being premier? And I expressed my honest feelings that, yes, I am leaving, and you stand just as good a chance of any of the other ministers being here, and being the deputy would give you an advantage. So you can only imagine the shock or surprisation, as Cayman would say, when I heard that he no longer wanted to be there. And so, you know, that's a democratic right. I respect it. I don't intend to engage into it unless there's a personal attack on my integrity, the civil service, or Her Excellency's office. I will stand up and defend that. But the country has too much to do, OC, and too many things of significance. Cayman has always been under the microscope, and especially, and I keep coming back to that, especially where we have to go across the United Kingdom in a week's time, you know, with our other territories. They recognize and appreciate that I sit as president of UCOT. That is significant in itself, and I am not going to bring my country to shame. So I will go back to my primary school where small minds talk about people, not to get into that temptation. I'm going to wish the departed colleagues the very best as they continue to campaign and exercise their discretion to serve the country. Obviously, I would have been happy if they stayed on at least until nomination day to take the country through. But again, that is their democratic prerogative. I salute them for taking whatever decision they made, but I would ask them, in the pursuit of excellence and victory at the polls, do not put the Cayman Islands on the sacrifice altar. We will live to regret it.
Okay, Premier, thank you. With that, we're going to take a commercial break. Folks, when we return, the conversation with Her Excellency, the Governor, Ms. Jane Owen, and Premier of the Cayman Islands, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, will continue. Don't change that dial. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Join Brandsour's Home Gallery as we celebrate our 54th anniversary with an incredible store-wide sale and the best deals ever. Now through November 16th, save up to 40% on premium appliances, 50% off on plumbing fixtures, and 20% off cabinets and custom closets. Enjoy store-wide savings on appliances, kitchen cabinets, custom closets, sinks, faucets, vanities, tubs, decorative lighting, barbecue grills, mattresses, and more. Get your home right for the holidays with Brandsource's 54th anniversary sale. Visit us and meet our knowledgeable sales team and designers on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Phone 623-5000.
Cayman, get ready for the reggae event of the year as the Cayman Islands Agricultural Society presents the return of the Roots Rock Reggae Concert on Saturday, March 1st, 2025 with the legendary Taurus Riley heading at the Agriculture Fairgrounds in Boddingtown. Sing along to your favorite hits and experience pure reggae magic under the stars. Early bird tickets are available now for just $35 for general admission and $55 for VIP. Don't miss out on this pricing. Supporting artists and DJ announcements coming soon. Purchase your tickets today at eventpro.ky and see you at Roots Rock Reggae.
For the record, with Orett Connor.
Oh, okay. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with us, we have the Governor of the Cayman Islands, Her Excellency, Ms. Jane Owen, and the Premier of the Cayman Islands, Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly. You've heard, quite a bit this morning. You've heard about the $2,000 one-time honorarium being paid to civil servants, and others are being considered as well. And we had heard this before, and it was repeated again, the assurance to ensure that no civil servant is paid less than $3,000 a month. You've seen in the headlines about the in the newspapers as